Group, and I'm really pleased to welcome you. I'm really pleased to welcome you today to Lloyds Careers Live. So I'm joined today by my colleague Mahari, who we both work for Lloyds Banking Group. So it's the 1st of November, the nights are getting darker, the nights are drawing in, and it seems like a little bit of a while ago now since Mahari and I were here last presenting Careers Live, when we've previously explored things like cybersecurity and customer services. But it's great to be back in the hot seat, and our thanks to Damon and Amy, who were your hosts last month for Careers in Technology and Engineering. So tonight, we are looking at perhaps what could be thought of as a more sort of traditional pathway that you'd expect from one of Europe's biggest banks. So we're going to talk tonight about careers in finance and accounting. Now, jobs are changing as technology creates new opportunities. So our aim tonight is to find out what's ahead for these careers and really help you think about whether it is actually the right choice for you.
I'm telling you, Elaine, like you said, it is really good to be back, and it does feel like summer was such a long time ago. Halloween's just probably wrapped up for another year, but tonight we promise you there's going to be no tricks and hopefully lots of treats in store. Because thinking about tonight as itself, we've got Lloyd's colleagues as themselves. We've come together because helping you to select a career that will suit you is important to us. Also, along with you being able to get a true feel for the organizations such as Lloyd's Banking Group, so that you can really feel at home. For myself, I've been with the group, for a number of years now and had a variety of different roles, some that have just kind of really helped shape and really kind of mold me into the role that I'm in now. And what I'm doing now is being able to tell a story to the internal population through communications and through storytelling. And you'd have never thought when I joined the group that I'd be able to do this later down the line. So it's fantastic to see. So, everyone, I'm keen for everyone on the call to kind of hear about your role.
Yeah, well, my role is looking after apprenticeships here at Lloyds Banking Group, but I think it's fair to say that over my time here at Lloyds, I've done lots and lots of different roles. I mean, the great thing about Lloyds is there's always new opportunities and challenges to consider if sometimes we are willing to be brave and give things a go. So the whole point of this evening really is that we want to show you that when it comes to building a great career, there is definitely more than one way to do that. So we've got some great speakers lined up for you, but we also want this to be a space where you can ask us questions, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second.
No, fantastic. So tonight, we're focused on careers in finance and accounting, and this is a profession that has been around for hundreds of years. If we go back in history and look at the kings and queens of England, we can find this fine gentleman, Henry VII. Probably seen popping up on your screen now. Now, it's true, he was given quite a few nicknames in his time, some of which we can't possibly say live on the broadcast, but he was known as the Accountant King, which this is something I learned when we were kind of prepping for this call today, which is great to know. So Henry was one of the few monarchs to process all of his own accounts. He used to really refine and note down descriptions of monies owed, paid out, and even was known to count bags of coins to balance the books. He came up with an innovative way to encourage people to pay taxes. It was also said he owed lots of properties. The way that he was wealthy, he could pay even more taxes. And if you lived a frugal life, then you were likely to be saving enough money to also pay more taxes. So either way, Henry got his money.
I think you had that sorted, Mahari. You're right there. So jumping forward to today, maybe those tax raising ideas that Henry VII had haven't altogether gone away. But the way that finance and accounting works has, of course, radically changed today. Thankfully, we have moved on a little bit in terms of counting bags of coins and making entries into like a physical ledger, book, and digital accounting. Artificial intelligence is really helping us to produce forecasts and assist companies, not just to understand about their profitability, but also to look forward in the future and actually predict future funding requirements and the impact of complex scenarios.
And, while a head for numbers is certainly useful for a career in finance and accounting, the skills involved also includes interpreting financial information to help people make sound and good decisions. And it's not all about burying your head in spreadsheets, as, you'll probably find out a lot more about that tonight.
Well, I think if it was, we wouldn't be here ourselves, Mahari, would we? I mean, now recently I was reading a piece of interesting research that showed that women and young people are unlikely to apply for a job if they don't believe that they actually meet all of the hiring criteria. And actually, that is a massive issue that really holds people back. So, for example, if you didn't study like a certain subject at GCSEs, does that mean that you can't progress in certain career areas? Or what are the minimum grades and subjects that employers expect for you to progress with a career in finance and accounting? So that's the sort of thing that tonight's event is all about. It's about helping you to understand the industry, where things are progressing, what jobs look like, and also, when you're starting out, what the practicalities are of applying and actually securing a place. I mean, every year within Lloyds Banking Group, we speak to thousands of students. So some of the questions that might be on your minds, we might already know, but we want this to be your event and ensure that you actually go away with your questions answered.
And also tonight, I know we've got a few mums and dads and some carers in the room. So big ups to everybody that's joined along with you, wonderful guys. So we know the landscape for university and apprenticeships and careers has changed radically since perhaps you left school, and that you have questions as well. So you're welcome to ask whatever questions are on your mind that will help you, to kind of help us give you a bit of a great guide for the young adults that are in your life. So mums and dad, if you have any questions, please do let us know.
Yeah, for sure. So tonight then, we've got some guests. All the guests are our colleagues actually from across Lloyds Banking Group, and they're going to help us learn more about careers in finance and accounting. So you're going to hear more about how this profession sort of underpins so much of what we do as a company, but not just with us, obviously other companies across the UK too. So if you do have any questions, as Mahari said, do pop them in the chat. And what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on that while we're chatting, and we'll do our best to answer them. We've also got closed captioning running today on this event on Zoom. So if you need that feature, make sure that now is the time that you actually activate it.
Brilliant. So Elaine, you know what I'm going to do? We need to put Zoom for its paces and test everyone's ability to use the chat and reaction tabs. All right. So Elaine, I'm in London at the moment, kind of north, East London. Where are you?
I'm in Essex, if you can't tell by my accent. So, it'd be great to find out where everybody else is.
Right, that's good. All right, so let's find out where you will join us tonight. So if some of you can just kind of pop it in the chat, and I'll kind of pull out to see where people are kind of dialing in and calling in from. So let's have a look. Oh, Glasgow, Bristol, Kent. We've got them all up and down the country, like Dunfermline, Manchester,
Oh,
Norfolk, Sussex. I'm not seeing anyone
yeah.
from Essex. So,
No,
never.
well, I'm
Chichester.
representing. Well, it does definitely sounds like, Mahari, that we have got people from up and down the country, literally. So that's really good. And welcome to you all. And obviously, by that, we now know that you all know how to use the chat and use the reactions as well. So if you hear something you like throughout the session tonight, you can use those at any point. So I think, Mahari, probably might be a good time now to find out about all the people that are joining us. So let's do some simple polls. So in our first poll then, what we want to know is, what stage of education are you currently in? And the idea of asking you this is we just can get a bit of an idea of what's relevant for you, and we can sort of shape the content this evening. So the options that you should see on your screen are GCSEs, A levels or equivalent, apprenticeship, full-time employment, university or other. So let's see how we're doing in terms of responses. So what stage are you currently in? Just having a look, and looks like the most popular one is A levels on an equivalent course. So that's good to know. And second place, you've got your GCSE. So again, great for you guys. We've got a couple that are already in full-time employment even. And then we've got a couple that are other. Potentially they might be parents maybe, or carers. And we've got one in uni, and it looks like the biggest number is actually moving around, and it is the biggest percentage are doing A level. So that's a really critical time, isn't it? Because you're, you know, you might be thinking about what to do next, etc. So, okay,
No, fantastic.
brilliant.
So, well, let's find out a little bit more about tonight then, because we're curious to know how when we're talking about these different things, and this helps us to improve on how we let people know what's coming next. So, how did you find out about tonight's event? That's always a good kind of key to find out where you
Yeah.
found out about this. Couple of word of mouth, social media. Can't fault social media for that. Fluctuating now, or careers advisor or some kind of service. That's looking to be in first place at the moment.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, and what else we got here? Okay, so first place we've got careers advisor or some kind of service, and then those who have kind of heard it through word of mouth, which is quite closely with social media, joint neck and neck. And then for those of you who are kind of returners, coming back, who attended a previous event, which means we've done a good job the last time. So we've got a few return people who've come, which is always good to see. Lovely. See, this always kind of
Yeah.
helps us to kind of get how we kind of articulate, or at least we promote the next ones that are coming up. So it's great to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, looking at, there's a few of you that have found out about tonight through social media. And I think we're always curious, aren't we, Mahari, of which channels people use? Because there's so many now, and they're really useful for us to keep in touch with you all so we can tell you all about what's happening. So are you an Insta person? Do you get your business info from LinkedIn potentially, or maybe TikTok? So let us know just in the chat which channels you use and what you think they're good at. Let's have a little look and see what you think. Let's
A
see.
couple of TikTokers coming in now, right?
So,
Because I'm quite an avid LinkedIn user, so I like to post. I like to kind of get people interactive with some of the things that we're working on. Elaine, you
yeah,
and I were up at the grad induction event, and you were
yeah,
doing your own TikTok. So,
yeah, I
it's a good
was.
fluctuation between your platforms.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So any others,
quite a
Mahari?
mixed bag. We've got TikTok, we've got LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and we've got Instagram. So it's quite a mixed bag in terms of social media
yeah,
presence and how people do this. And
yeah,
we've got Facebook. We've literally covered all bases, which is fantastic to
yeah.
see.
Okay, that's good because we do often post on our Insta as well as other things. Great, thanks for that, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. So, again, Elaine and I, as fantastic as we are, we can't do this by ourselves. So, what I want to do is take some time to introduce you to the team that will be supporting us this evening. In the background, on the old ones and twos, we've got Gareth, our event producer, who makes all the technology works for us in the background. Without him, this could not happen. And we also have Rich from our apprenticeships team helping to answer your questions in the chat. And we're also joined by some special guests, which we said are our Lloyds colleagues. We've got Matt Royal, Matt Latimer, Natalie Cooper, and Luke Lyons with us this evening, and we've got so much to get through. So like we said, feel free to pop any questions in the chat, because this is all about giving you the right insight so you can get exactly what you really want.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mahari. Right. So, as I said, tonight's event's called Careers in Finance and Accounting. And we're going to kick off by finding out more about the industry, where it's at in terms of skills and what new trends and things are becoming important. So, we're also going to find out what it's actually like to work in this space. So, you can have a think about whether this style of working is actually going to suit your personality. So, the first up, joining Mahari and I to tell us a little bit more about the world of finance is one of my colleagues, Matt Royal. Hello, Matt.
Hi Elaine, how are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. Well, let's kick things off then, because obviously for other people that don't work for Lloyds, they might think that people in Lloyds have got very fancy sort of job titles. So why don't we kick off by you telling everyone who you are and what your role is in Lloyds?
Yeah, great. So, so my name's Matt, working in the London office at the moment. I've been with the bank for 10 years and have had about 4 or 5 different roles within that, all things from group forecasting, so looking to the future and predicting trends, through to business partnering with our actual business who face customers. And my current role is in the finance strategy world. So thinking about how, as a finance function, which has over 2,500 people, how we make the most of that, add some value, and really make it the best function it can possibly be.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So if you had to describe your role to people that are already working for Lloyds, I'll be interested to hear, like in a nutshell, how you describe it. And secondly, how do you tell your sort of friends and family what you do?
Yeah, so we've got 2,500 people working in finance, doing a whole variety of interesting things. Some do recording what's happened in the past, some do looking to the future, and it's all about making that function the most efficient value add that it can be it putting people in the right position to succeed by getting them all together in a physical location space. So looking at what offices we need, how we bring people together to collaborate, all the way through to giving them the right tools and data that they can use to make those good decisions and doing that. Now, in terms of how I describe that to people outside of Lloyds, it's all about making finance and those 2,500 people the best place to work it can possibly be. Really just making it a bit where we can do a force for good. So we can actually lead to those good decisions that you were talking about and actually co-pilot the rest of the business as well, helping give the insight and give the stories that then help make the decisions in the wider world as well.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
really
Thanks,
good.
Matt.
So I guess, just Elaine, just following on from your question, I'm always keen to understand how people get into the profession that they're in. So maybe Matt, if you can kind of give us a little bit insight on how did you get into this profession and what was the route into getting to where you are now?
Yeah, no worries, Mahari. So I went to Warwick University. I did economics. I was very much the traditional finance graduate, but saying that, I've met so many people who have come from a variety of roles. I had it all lined up. I went to Deloitte. I joined Deloitte straight from university, and it was not for me. I hated it, and I left there within a year. Absolute cultural clash completely. Didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I liked numbers. I knew I liked working with people. I went to a recruitment consultant, and they said, we've got a great role for you. It's at Lloyds. It's in this group partnering role. And because of my numeric head, but that's definitely only been my way in. And since then, I've learned lots of other skills. But it's been the role for me 10 years and just done a whole variety after that as well. But it definitely wasn't a planned choice. It's definitely been something I defaulted into. And then it's been something that I had that early setback of just think, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want to do. And actually just taking a step back, career change, and actually across my time at Lloyds, I've done 4 or 5 different roles. Each one have been different, slightly new, and I've been able to build a career from there. But none of it's been thought, it's just a continuation and everything like that as well. And there's so many opportunities across the 2,500 roles within finance alone.
You might have answered my question for me because of your numbers here, because my follow-up question was going to be, what made you consider a career in finance accounting? Was it Julie just because of your numbers head, or was there something else?
So that's the way in, Mahari. But like what it's been since then has been really just, can you tell a story? I think you were talking about it earlier. It's like you are helping people make decisions. So if you want them to listen to you, you have to use your numbers, you have to use your evidence, but that's purely part of ways to convince people. It's all about giving people information, giving people strategic choices so that people know what's happened in the past, what's likely to happen in the future, what recommendations are you going to make when you're business partnering these really crucial decisions, be it on sustainability, be it on how we support our customers, be it on product mixes. If you use the numbers and if you use the evidence, you're co-piloting everything that goes on across Lloyds, and Lloyds has such a fantastic reach, everything it does across the UK. So numbers might have been the way in, but it's been about storytelling and business partnering that's been the success so far anyway.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, when you sort of talk about these careers, finance and accounting, people just do tend to think it is like number crunching. But, some of the things you've talked about, sustainability, which we hearing so much about, is there anything that you've sort of, since you started in the industry, is there anything that you think has really changed since you started?
So the main thing that I've seen changing, and my role in finance strategy is to look into the future to see not what has just changed, but what's changing into the future as well, which is why events like this are so important. It's all about the power of data and the investment in the technology that you were talking about as well. You don't need to do any maths. The computers, the AI does that for you. It's all about, can you put in a good system? Can you put in good logic? If you put in good logic, you get an argument out. So it's about understanding a logical flow of information much more now than it is about numbers. We can see in the industry trends is so much investment going into getting the right information right to your fingertips. You're not having to search it, you're not having to add it up, you're not having to do any bookkeeping, traditional kind of writing on paper, like your Henry VII example, Mahari. That will all be done for you. It's just taking an output and actually using common sense, analysis and insight to be able to drive those good decisions as well. And that's the biggest change. There's loads of investment going into that space, and data science, data information, data engineering that is crucial to helping us have an accurate position of what's going on and what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a thing, isn't it? All those things that you've talked about, they're sort of new opportunities, aren't they, that we haven't really sort of considered previously.
One of the biggest ones, Elaine, is sustainability, something that I'm really passionate about as well. But if you want to do something that will, be a good cause, make a difference, sustainability is a huge trend that will be massively important. But to tell the story of sustainability, if you want to know what companies do good, what companies do bad, you have to have accurate information. You have to have their historic performance, but also what are they going to do in the future. Without accuracy of data and understanding the power of finance, we're all a bit blind. You might have the best intentions, but finance really has the power to put the evidence behind it and make that difference as well. So finance has this really unique role and to really make a difference in the future as well. All those important topics.
Brilliant.
Wow,
Great.
lots
Thanks,
of great input. I think for me, there's a lot of the audience are interested in having a career that matters. Me, myself, when I started out my own journey, I wanted to do something that had real purpose. How do you consider the purpose behind what you do, and kind of why is it important to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think, events like this just show how Lloyds really does live by the values that it wants to do. It wants to reach out to people. It wants to fulfill its value of helping Britain prosper. And that's not just an empty slogan. Like, it genuinely does put that consideration into all its business decisions and everything that goes into supporting it as well. When we have loads of pledges on sustainability, on our regional development, on our skills, our productivity. Is fundamental to the values, and I see it every day in terms of the leadership as well, and that trickles down to every role as well. And I think in these kind of roles, finance, again, and I sound like a finance salesperson, but this is what you got me on for, right? Has that ability to make those decisions, to really inform those decisions as well. So it's got a big part to play in all that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know we've got a couple of minutes, but I'm kind of keen to kind of ask one last question, then I'll hand to you, Elaine.
Go on. Go for it, Mahar.
We work for the group, and I've enjoyed my time working here, and there's still so much to do. Like, what difference has Lloyds Banking Group made for you from a personal perspective?
Yeah. So I think the main difference from me compared to my 1 year working at Deloitte is the culture. I've been really been so lucky to work with really good people who really care. They have got a really good balance between, pushing you and career ambitions, but also having that work-life balance. When I joined, I did CIMA qualification, which is an accountancy qualification, which I would really encourage everyone to look into. Sets you up for life. When I finished that, I went on a 6-month sabbatical. So I was able to do 6 months of traveling all around. There was a guaranteed job to come back to. I'm also 33 now, had 2 young children. I've been able to go on paternity leave, which I know probably quite a lot of the audience aren't considering right now, but that kind of cultural kind of way that they care about people and all those kind of softer side, you don't get that at every company, and you don't get that at every big financial company as well. So the culture and the people have genuinely, in my 10 years, been really out there, and the way that they look after people as well is a soft factor that you might not know about, with the prestige of working for like a big top 4 company, accountancy company, something like that. But you've got to be careful about do they just treat you like a number, or can they just actually care about the people that they're trying to work for?
Yeah, well, I think you sort of answered what was going to be my last question there, Matt, which was about, things that the guys should consider, when they're looking at which companies to work for. You've talked about some of the things really that you feel has sort of set Lloyds apart in terms of helping you to sort of make your decision about, where you want to work. So that sounds really good, and it's good insights, I think, for the guys.
It's got a great UK reach as well. We've got the 4 regional hubs. So, I saw in where everyone was based, you've got Bristol, Yorkshire, up in Scotland, and London as well. It's great. There's so many roles across that as well. Like, you can have a whole career doing you're encouraged to move every 2 years to learn new skills, meet new people as well, like that. So all that kind of internal factors has been a complete bonus as well. And professional qualifications really do set you up for life as well. So Lloyds is really good for that kind of career aspirations and supporting that personal development as well.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Matt. We'd love to chat more to you, but we've got some other guests waiting in the wings. But no, thanks so much for that. It's been really great to chat to you today. And like I say, everyone, if you've got questions, keep them coming in the chat, and we'll look at getting those. Answered for you. So, I mean, blimey, Mahari, that was a great insight, wasn't it? We're going to introduce you guys now to some more colleagues in a moment who are actually carving out their careers in finance and accounting through different programs, and also they're from different backgrounds as well. Some of them have been to uni. some of them are following the apprenticeship route, and some of them have actually done both. So apprenticeships are becoming increasingly popular as a way to gain an industry recognised professional qualification, but also a valuable, work experience at the same time. And you get paid as well, which, is an added bonus. So, yeah, lots of things for you guys to think about.
No, for sure. And I think when we think of 2022, it's been a special year for Lloyds Banking Group. It's 10 years since our first apprentices started their journey. And this year we celebrated our 10,000th apprentice starting out for the first time. So we do love a good celebration. So every year we have an award ceremony to celebrate the achievements of our apprentices. So let's take a quick look at some of the year's winners and what they think about their journey so far.
We're here today for the 5th annual Lloyds Banking Group Apprenticeship Awards, celebrating the achievements of our apprentices and our line managers across the group.
You can use these skills that we've been learning and you can apply them in a lot of different areas.
So you can do something in IT, you can do it in tech, you can do it in legal, you can do it in marketing, and you can do something like what I'm doing, doing group internal audits. There's lots of opportunities available for you.
You're being paid a wage while you're learning, and you're given this permission, this space to go and learn and be curious and learn more.
If anyone was thinking about doing it, it's definitely worth applying for, no matter from your age or your background. As long as you're enthusiastic about it, it's paid dividends.
Great. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video there. I'm going to introduce you now to two people who are starting their own careers in this space by pursuing an apprenticeship in finance accounting right now with Lloyds Banking Group. You'd already seen one of them twice on the video for sure. I'd like to welcome Matt Latimer and Natalie Cooper to the mix. So welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us today. And it's really great that you can both be here and tell us a little bit about your experience. So I'll start off with you, Matt, as you've been featured already in the in the video. So Matt, what were you doing then before you started your apprenticeship?
So I actually went to uni after school. I wasn't really that aware of apprenticeships, and I spent the first 5 years after I graduated working in travel. So I was doing actually student outreach, so stuff similar to this. And then when the pandemic came along, I decided I wanted a career change. I'd started doing a little bit with data analytics, saw the apprenticeship at Lloyds, and was quite nervous about doing a complete career change and moving into something new. But yeah, the apprenticeship has been great so far.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, it sounds like that you're enjoying it. And same question to you, Natalie. What were you doing before you started your apprenticeship?
Yeah, so nothing to do with finance. Like Matt, I went to uni after I finished school, just because that's what everyone did and what was kind of expected. I studied languages, so I did French and German, and I had a career. I had my first job in a translation role, which I thought was what I wanted to do. Really didn't enjoy it, so decided to apply for a job in my local Bank of Scotland branch, which I did for a few years. Really loved working for Lloyds as a company and wanted to continue my career with the bank. So looked on the internal job vacancy website and found the apprenticeship, and here I am.
And there you go. It just shows, doesn't it, how you've sort of started potentially down one path and then ended up going down a different path. I mean, for you, what was it, Natalie, that got you interested in sort of finance and accounting?
I think I liked numbers at school, so that helped. I guess that was an in, like Matt was saying earlier on. It's sort of like your way in. But I think I liked the idea of getting a qualification alongside working. Especially, so I'm studying the ACCA, which is quite a well recognised, sort of respected qualification. And it sounded quite general, and like there was lots of different roles I could go into in the future. So I guess it was I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so it sounded like there was quite a lot of scope to go in different directions from there.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And I mean, so, we're talking about finance here. I'll come to you now, Matt. What is it actually like? Is it boring? Is it exciting? Are 2 days the same? Give us a bit of an idea just for the guys on the call.
So it is pretty varied. So I work in group corporate treasury. So I work at the moment in the liquidity analytics team. So my job is a part of the team, which is essentially to make sure that the bank has enough money. So it's been really interesting over the last few weeks, but because it looks at essentially what's going to happen in the next 30 days, it changes quite a lot. So each day can feel really different. You can see a lot of different scenarios and kind of how these big things that you see on the news are actually impacting the UK and how people move their money about. So it's really, really interesting. I haven't really had, since I've joined the team over the last couple of months, I haven't really had a boring day yet. So
Okay.
come back to me in 2 years and see what I say then. But yeah, it is really, really varied.
Good. Well, no, I'm sure it is. And I mean, Natalie, just thinking like when you tell people, you know, what you do and that you work for Lloyds Banking Group, if you had to, for people that don't really sort of speak numbers and we know we love a bit of jargon, don't we, in Lloyds Banking Group, how would you describe what you do to someone like your mum if they say, "What do you do today? How'd you get on? What do you actually do?"
I would say, yeah, because it can get quite technical, and people at Lloyd's love jargon, and there's loads of acronyms, so it can be quite daunting. But I think sort of the crux of what I do is helping to produce financial statements. So looking at what's happened before and reporting on that. We get lots of data from lots of different sources, lots of different teams send us information, and we have to make sure that it's all correct, so that when we're publishing statements to whether that's Companies House or financial regulators or shareholders, that it's all accurate. So it's a lot of check-in, control, and yeah, making sure that our data is correct.
Yeah. Oh, right. It sounds like lots of different things that you can get involved in, though, Natalie. And I mean, I'll come back to you, Matt. I mean, you went to uni. I know you both did. What was it that, like, how did it come about that you thought of actually doing an apprenticeship? Did some people think that was a bit strange? You've been to uni and then, like, you're doing an apprenticeship. How did that sort of come about? What made you sort of choose the apprenticeship?
So for me, I really wanted to be able to kind of carry on my career while learning at the same time. Same as Natalie, I'm studying to do the SEMA at the moment, which is the
Right.
same qualification that Matt did. But a big draw for the apprenticeship for me was to be able to do a professional qualification, and I wanted to be able to get something like that, but also be able to kind of get into a new career and actually do work at the same time. So that was a really big draw for me. My mum was actually quite surprised that I applied for it when I did, but it has been. I think there can be a little bit of a misconception around apprenticeships that, you know, you'll be getting the tea and not really doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
But from day one, from the apprenticeship that I've had at Lloyds, it's been doing work that really is meaningful, and you are getting involved properly, and it has really helped me develop. Like, I've been here for 2 years now, and I've done so many different things, and people are so open to letting you get involved with a lot of different parts of their job, even if it's just shadowing them, that
Yeah.
it's felt great.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, when you think about how many apprentices we've got in Lloyds Banking Group, I don't think I've seen many of them going around getting the teas in, from what I've seen anyway in our office. But I mean, you know, just coming back to you then, Natalie, you're talking about how the types of things that you get involved in. I mean, what sort of kind of actual projects then have you been working on? Just to give us a bit of a flavour of that.
So I've recently just joined a new team, so I'm still quite new to all that's going on in that. But something that we are sort of focusing on at the minute is working with our external auditors. So I was in Leeds last week to meet the auditors who were doing a site visit and meeting some of the team that I think Matt used to work with in GCT, Group Corporate Treasury. So we are working closely with them and making sure that what we're producing is in line with their standards. So that's been quite a big ongoing project at the minute.
Right, okay. That sounds interesting. I mean, if you had to think about what type of skills that you think people would need to sort of thrive in this sort of role, what would you say they are, do you think?
For me, I found the main one is being curious, and something that everyone has told me since I started is just ask questions, which really helps you learn. And everyone's so happy to answer the questions, or if they don't know the answer, they'll find it out. So I would say asking questions and being curious, being positive and saying yes to things. And by saying yes to things like this, you just get to meet different people and hear about different things going on in the bank as well. And then finally, I would say just people skills have been really important, because you speak to people every day across different teams, and that's just a big one.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you don't need to have an A star in maths to do a job in finance and accounting in Lloyds Banking Group. So there's lots of other skills that are absolutely valued, that will help set you up for success. I mean, just coming back to you then, Matt, what sort of things, like, is there anything that surprised you most about the apprenticeship, about your role? Is there anything you didn't expect when you started?
I think probably, like, I think finance in general can kind of have sometimes a bit of a scary kind of aura around it, that it's going to be quite cutthroat, and that has not been my experience at Lloyds at all. Like, the teams have been so friendly. Like Natalie said, everyone is kind of there willing you to do the best that you can in the apprenticeship. The amount of kind of help and kind of offers to help that I've had from the team, as long as you're kind of asking questions and kind of being naturally curious about what people are doing and how stuff works, like, people are there to kind of help you along with it. And I mean, everyone I've come across, no one's turned down me asking for help for anything. So I think that was probably the biggest surprise, that just how kind of welcoming everyone's been.
Yeah, no, I obviously, this is the whole point of us chatting, isn't it? Because we all work here and we want to give a flavour of that. I mean, what do you think, Matt, would be your things that you'd say would be skills that people would have that would help them thrive, do you think?
I think enthusiasm, definitely. Like, I feel like Natalie's already said a lot of what I would say as well, like just having that natural curiosity. But I also think perseverance as well, because I kind of came into it and I wasn't very good at maths at school. Like, I did it at GCSE, I did okay at GCSEs, but didn't do it after that, and thought it's not really for me. And then coming to it, actually, I really enjoyed problem solving. And it's just kind of when you start to look at things and realize that actually you can solve it, and you can kind of, when you're tracking data through and kind of working things out through doing all of that and having that perseverance, you can see your kind of knowledge build day on day. So I'd say enthusiasm and perseverance are the two kind of main ones for me.
Yeah. So note that, guys. That's something that I'm sure all of you have got, which you can bring to any opportunity that you put yourself out there for. So just to give a flavour then, how does the apprenticeship actually work then? Can you just give a little bit of your thoughts on that for the guys?
Yeah, sure. So obviously you're sort of doing your day job. So you've got a role, you get put into a team, and you're doing your day job as well as studying for exams. So the way that mine's worked is that I have sort of an exam every few months, a few weeks of classes, and then self-study and sit in the exam. And at the same time as that, actually doing the sort of apprenticeship side of things. So I've had like coursework sort of to do, so sort of like professional development and customer service skills. I've had to keep a record of, and having regular sort of meetings and keeping on track with the apprenticeship side of things.
Yeah, great. And you get lots of support, don't you, with the apprenticeship from your line manager and your coach as well. So, we want to do everything we can to sort of set you up for success. So I think I've probably got time for one more question. So Matt, how does this compare then to what you wanted to do when you actually left school?
I actually really didn't have that much of an idea about what I wanted to do after I left school. Like, my school was very focused on kind of going to university, and I didn't really have an idea about what I would want to do afterwards. I think if I asked the 18-year-old me, told them that in 10 years' time you'll be working in finance, I think they would have been very surprised. So, but it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, great, thanks. And Natalie, I'll ask you the same question, because I know you were saying you studied languages, didn't you? So how does this compare to what you wanted to do when you left school?
Yeah, very different. Again, I don't think I had much of a clue. I just studied languages because I liked them, and I think I've ended up just finding my way here and really, really like where it's taken me. And so I would say I think 18-year-old me would be happy with where I've ended up.
Yeah, and it just shows the show, doesn't it, how many people actually do know what they want to do exactly. And I think once you if you work in a big organisation, you might end up going into different roles while you're there, as me and Mahari were saying right at the very start. So yeah. Oh, well, hopefully that's given everyone a little bit more of an insight in terms of what the roles are and what it's like working here at Lloyds Banking Group. So thank you, Natalie and Matt, for joining us and chatting about that. They were good stories, weren't they, Mahari?
Yeah, tell me about it. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, because it's always good to hear, so to speak, from the horse's mouth exactly what's going on, what you're going through, to really help everybody else that's on the call, just to get a little bit more insight to what is the art of the possible. So, excuse me. So you only have to go back probably a few years ago when many students finished their GCSEs, choices were available, through B.Tech or the majority of A levels. And then they had to make a decision whether they were going to go to university or go into the workforce. So apprenticeships have changed quite radically. Now you can pursue an apprenticeship, study and work at the same time and still get paid. So it could be that you go straight to a degree apprenticeship, or you could start at a different level and work up to a pace that actually suits you. But for some people, university is probably still the preferred route. And our next guest, Luke, who I'm excited for you all to meet, he's going to tell us a little bit more about his story and how he got into a career in finance and accounting. So, Luke, thank you for joining us tonight. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine, Mahari. How are you?
Yeah, all good, all good, all good. So, Luke, I'm going to just dive straight in because I'm keen for everybody on the call just to kind of hear your story. So maybe if you can just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how your career got started.
Yeah, certainly. Although I don't know if we'll have enough time to go through the whole ins and outs of it, to be perfectly honest. So I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. So, yeah, I'm Luke. I'm originally from Liverpool, and I suppose we fast forward to the start of my career. I also did a degree, did it to a master's level, and I completed that back in 2018. And I moved back to Liverpool at the time, and I applied for a couple of jobs and was successful in getting a job in telephony with Lloyds Banking Group in the Speak office in Liverpool. So I began in the phones there, didn't do an apprenticeship at all, carried that on and ended up working in branch in Manchester for a bit for Lloyds again. So you can kind of see why this path isn't straight and narrow to finance. Following on from that, I went into credit operations over in Chester, and that was around about 2019, at which point I saw that Lloyds were putting forward apprenticeship options, and one of them was in Bristol, of all places. So I put in an application for that and went through the assessment day and was successful on getting on that apprenticeship. It was a level 4 apprenticeship, beginning studying SEMA, which I went through doing. I completed that actually last year, and I loved it so much, studying, of course, that I decided to take that on to a level 7, and I'm currently now working in retail finance for the bank.
Geez, so you've actually done uni and apprenticeship routes as well. So thinking about that then, so what convinced you that going to uni was the right choice at the time when apprenticeships were around?
Yeah, so that is a very good question. At the time, I did my degree and my master's degree in history, and I really was passionate about that subject, which when you think about it, has a lot of transferable skills over to finance in terms of the research elements and the kind of building a picture and building a story, which I know has been mentioned. But I must admit that at the time when I was in college, there wasn't really, everyone was kind of pushing you more towards going down this university route, which is totally fine to do, but there wasn't really an avenue at that point for apprentices. It was all go to UCAS, put your application in for this, pick universities, get it done, and obviously, off you go. And I think that kind of lack of understanding or lack of knowing about apprentices was really a bit of a downfall in a way. I really did enjoy uni, don't get me wrong, but there certainly wasn't the same push towards apprentices as there is for university when you go to college.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. So thinking of the apprenticeship structure then, how do you think that's helped your career development?
Yeah, so with the apprenticeship structure, it's been brilliant in many respects. So what you tend to get, if people are unaware on the call, is that you get 20% of your time in terms of either studying or kind of your own personal development. And really, the apprenticeship programs doing both, it's really interesting, to be fair. You'll do your studies and you kind of work it around work in a sense, free time. And you'll also go to kind of all these extra events. So you do get to meet people outside of kind of your own bubble. So you'll meet other people from Lloyds Banking Group. You'll also be able to go to kind of different events and stuff like that. So I went to the Southwest Apprenticeship Awards and
Yeah.
to an ambassador network as well down there as part of that 20%. And I got to meet different people. I met people that were doing apprenticeships over in Thatcher's. So that was entertaining. Unfortunately, didn't get any free samples despite my persistence, but you know, we move. But no, yeah. So it's definitely a very different way of going about it, but because you learn on the job, and that does feed into kind of your studies. But there is kind of like a catch up that occurs. So you'll tend to find, at least, you know, a perfect example of this is I studied level 4 in 2020. And I learned about kind of this thing called high and low method, which I think people will be thankful that I don't go into great detail about it. But in effect, it teaches you how to kind of pull out these costs and understand the fixed cost element of it. And at the time I did it, I didn't really think it was worth it, truth be told. But in my new role, I've found that I'm actually using that kind of that learning that I previously kind of built up in the role. So you know, you definitely get this catch up. They're both kind of really well married to each other.
So I guess, so you know, Elaine and I have done this call quite a few times now, and I think one of the key questions that always tend to come out is, what's it like trying to combine working and studying?
Yeah, so working and studying is definitely a different kettle of fish to go into university. You know, your free time is taken up in doing that studying, but Lloyds Banking Group is a really good employer, and they have a really good understanding of kind of the pressures you're under when you kind of do those exams. What I tend to try and do is I tend to, you know, get my studies and kind of align them to my own work and own job in a way, in the day-to-day role. So I am kind of learning these things as I go. You definitely, it's one of the key skills in this, you definitely have to be organized, and you definitely have to have good time management to get this over the line. It is pressurizing in a way, but not greatly. It can be managed, as long as you can really, you know, manage your own time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely understand. I think one of the kind of final wrap-up questions for me then, you know, which is probably a critical question, is this, like, if you had your time again, how would you make your choice this time around?
Ooh, that's a good one. The university definitely has the social life. I think many people who've done this will kind of, you know, mention this, but if you do go with the apprenticeship with Lloyds Banking Group, they do try and put you in like a cohort of apprentices. So you've got like your own little network. So your kind of social life does come back out in that way. But comparing the two, weighing them up, I'd 100% encourage people to go for the apprenticeship route. Lloyds Banking Group has a variety of different apprentices on its career web pages externally. You don't need to go to uni to do these apprentices. It just kind of shows that apprentices can be for anyone at any age, any point. In a sense, you can go with them straight from college, straight from school, all the rest of it, or you can obviously do the route that I've done. But you know, you'll save yourself 3 years and student loan if you do it the route from school.
No, Luke, thank you so much. I think just hearing from you is probably giving me so much more insight, and I'm sure a lot of people on the call have taken a lot from that. So thank you for your time this evening. So Elaine, I know you're there, you know, wanting to jump straight in. So what did you think?
No. Oh, honestly, it's so great to hear all the different stories, and it just, I think, goes to show that, you know, when you're thinking about forging a great career, there's always more than one way to actually do that. You know, for all of our colleagues here, they've all taken like a different approach. So I think this is now the time in the live stream when you normally have lots of questions about opportunities for careers, etc., in finance and accounting at Lloyds Banking Group. And also a question that we get asked a lot is about how to apply and what the practicalities are. How does all that work? So here to give us the lowdown and personal hints and tips from my colleague, Richard. So over to you, Richard.
Thanks, Elaine. Much appreciated. So hi, everyone. I'm Rich Quato, and I'm an apprenticeship manager at Lloyds Banking Group, and I'm based here in South Wales this evening. So I've worked in the group since I was 16. I did go off to university after sixth form to do sports science of all things, and the group actually supported me through that. Like many others on the call, the group's offered me such a variety of opportunities to develop over the last 20 years. I've never really really wanted to leave, and I would genuinely recommend working here to anyone, friends, family, etc. So I'm glad you're here this evening, and I hope you found it interesting so far. So as Elaine said, we often get asked about the apprenticeships we offer, especially in the finance and accountancy space. And I'm going to give you a little more information about the apprenticeships and also a little bit of information about the application process. So we have 3 core apprenticeships in the finance and accountancy space. So a level 3 accountancy assistant apprenticeship, and I'd broadly consider level 3 as the equivalent standard to 2A levels, or the equivalent in other countries. A level 4 professional accountancy technician apprenticeship, and again I'd broadly consider a level 4 as the equivalent to a standard foundation degree. And then a level 7 professional accountant apprenticeship. And I'd broadly consider that as a level 7 being the equivalent to a master's degree qualification. So those programs typically last between 18 months and 3 years. Each of them give colleagues the opportunity to develop key skills whilst in their role, as others have said this evening, but it also allows colleagues to complete a professional qualification, such as the CIMA qualification that Matt mentioned earlier. So for example, colleagues that complete the level 7 professional accountant apprenticeship will qualify with either the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants or the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. That essentially means that they will achieve professional status with those professional bodies at the end of the apprenticeship. And what's more, that would have been fully funded by the group. And as Mahari said earlier, all achieved whilst working and earning money. So they really are great opportunities. Now, you might be thinking what the application process looks like. So generally for apprenticeships, you're going to need to have achieved a grade C or above in GCSE English and Maths, or the equivalent qualification and grade in other nations. But all's not lost if you don't have these qualifications. We actually support colleagues in achieving those functional skills whilst completing an apprenticeship if we need to. Again, generally to complete our apprenticeships at the higher level, like the level 7 I mentioned earlier, you'll also need to have completed A levels and or an apprenticeship at the lower level to make sure you're at that standard. And the apprenticeships and A levels kind of build on going up to that. Typically, we recruit external apprenticeships into our finance and accountancy teams after A levels. So they come in after A levels, they join the group, and they start a journey to achieve professional status by first completing that level 4 professional accountancy technician apprenticeship that I mentioned, and then they go on to complete the level 7 professional accountant apprenticeship and become professionally registered with those organizations. So the application process forms 3 key stages. So the first is an application and online assessment, which will assess your strengths and key skills. So for example, your mathematical skills. The second stage is then an interview, and that will either be face-to-face, telephone, or video-based in today's world. That can sometimes be a combination of a few in some cases, but typically it will be one or the other. And for some, typically that's the end of the application process, especially those doing a lower level apprenticeship, and you will either be offered the role or not offered the role at that point. But for others, especially those that are applying for apprenticeships at the level 4 and above, you're likely going to be invited to an assessment day, and that's stage 3. So the assessment day is made up of a further interview and a series of challenges, which includes a group activity and a presentation. So the interview is there to delve a little deeper into your strengths and what you can bring to the group. The group activity is often a team-based challenge, exploring your ability to work with others and solve a problem. And the presentation explores how you think, your passion and motivation, and how you communicate ideas and engage with others. So after that, if you're successful, we'll formally invite you to join the group as an apprentice, and you'll start your journey from there. Now, I know that can sound quite daunting to some, but what I can assure you is the purpose of the application is to get the best from candidates and not catch anyone out. Here at Lloyds Banking Group, we really value diversity, and we recruit people based on their strengths and what they can bring to our group in the future rather than their past experience. So I'd encourage you to use the process as an opportunity to showcase who you are and what you can bring to the table at Lloyds Banking Group. So within this finance and accountancy space, there are likely to be vacancies advertised in early 2023. So even if that's a little early for you, it may be worthwhile keeping an eye out and seeing what the application process is like. And that's about it from me. All that's left for me to say is wish you all the best with your future career, and hopefully you decide to apply for a role in Lloyds Banking Group.
No, Rich, thank you so much for sharing that. It's really, really insightful. And I'm just happy that you've got company now with you, as we saw the the guys coming behind you. So I'm just happy you got company. You don't have to be here by yourself anymore. So good to hear. So fantastic insight. Thank you again, Rich. So we've learned from all our guests this evening that finance and accounting is a diverse sector, and there are lots of different ways to develop your career. We heard from our colleagues who knew from the outset that uni or an apprenticeship was the right route for them to take into finance and accounting. We've also learned how these roles are not just about crunching numbers, but play a critical part in helping us make big decisions. Given the millions of customers that are in the UK and we serve here at Lloyds, it affects many lives, so it's important that we also try to get it right. This is great to know if you're looking for a career that has a real sense of purpose, and I'm sure you'll agree, Elaine.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know what? I can't believe we've only got 5 minutes left. It just seemed to, well, it's actually 4 minutes now. So do you know what? I'd like to squeeze in 2 more polls, please, if we can. So just before we finish up, so on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the most confident, how well do you understand opportunities in finance and accounting? Oh, good. Oh, yeah, numbers are going up there. That's good. Hopefully we've given you a bit more of an insight. Let's see.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay.
Yeah, good. Brilliant. Okay, so 55% of you, more than half, are saying that you're, well, actually, when you add on the 15% as well, as you can see, you don't have to be great at maths and percentages to come and work with us. But anyway, it sounds like you've taken in some of the things that we've been talking about today, which is brilliant. So I'd really like to do one last poll, if we can, please. Now, this poll is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. I think a career in accounting and finance could be right for me. Come on, did we make you think that it is more interesting than you'd originally thought? Yes. Looking at this, Mahari, I think it's looking good. Oh, for sure. Really. Oh, I'm pleased with that. That's really, yeah, for sure. I'm really I think we're cooking with gas now. So no, really interesting to see the response, and great, isn't it, Mahari, to see how everyone's feeling. So that's brilliant.
No, for sure. I feel we've learned so much this evening. I might even change career myself now. Thanks to all our guests for joining us. Let's now look ahead to Lloyd's Career Live for December. Yep, we have got one in December as well. So there'll be decorations, tinsel, mistletoe, and what do we have in store for us?
Well, Mahari, as we approach the festive season, for many students, we know that this is the time when you've got to do the UCAS personal statements. You've got to nail that. And then also, we know that how some of that critical information in the UCAS statement is translated into job applications for apprenticeship roles that might be starting in September 2023. So what we thought we would do to help you out a bit more, for December, we're going to mix it up a little bit. So we're actually going to devote the whole December Careers Live to looking at pathways for you after you leave school or college, and pack the room with people who've taken the graduate pathway, an apprenticeship route, maybe people like Luke, who's done both, or even people that have just joined a company and forged a career from there. So we really want to explore with you in December the highs and lows of their experiences and help you feel more informed in your choices and create more of a space for you to ask the questions that are on your mind. So we know it's not an easy choice, especially if you're feeling the way everyone else is going is not necessarily going to be the right way for you. So, do come back in September and join us for what will be the last Lloyds Careers Live of 2022. So I know a lot of you will be working on your UCAS personal statements over the festive season, and hopefully you'll find that it should be a great and a helpful event. So tell your friends about it too.
Yeah, for sure. And, we don't want to leave tonight without giving you, something that we provide you with some really useful websites, resources that can help you on your journey, because there's lots of info here. So you can hold up your phone, and kind of scan the QR code and download the links in the chat. That will be really, really helpful to you as well. And up first is the Lloyds Banking Group talent website. So this is a treasure trove, you see, of all the information about all the roles in Lloyds, the apprenticeship, the graduate schemes, and also lots of the current vacancies that you can also find on there. And the second link is the link to next month's Lloyds Career Live session on uni and apprenticeship routes. And though we'll be taking a short break in January, I think we're coming back in February. Yeah, that's right. We will be back in February looking at careers in economic crime prevention. Yes, you heard that correctly. When you run a bank, you have to have big responsibilities in how to protect and look after your customers and their money. So like any organization, we have special teams who have to disrupt criminals who want to exploit vulnerable customers. And we'll be taking a real closer look at the work that they do. So by going on to QR code, you can have a look at that, find out some more information, and you can also book your space right now. We'll send you a reminder code, of course, closer to the time as well.
Thanks, Mahari. Who knew you could be a detective working within the bank, eh? Bet we didn't think about that when we started this course. But it doesn't end there. We've got two great resources for you. So the Association of Apprenticeships and Amazing Apprenticeships. Now, both of these websites give you lots of insight around apprenticeships and how to find them, whatever employer or career sector that you're thinking of. So do have a look at those. And lastly, if you missed any of the previous Lloyds Live sessions, or you'd like to rewind tonight's event for anything you might have missed, you can catch the replay of this on our YouTube channel, and it will be there with all the other sessions, and we've got our own Lloyds Banking Group Careers YouTube channel, so I would say to you to have a look at that too.
Yeah, thank you, Elaine. And tonight's been a fantastic evening. I can literally hear my own dinner bell going. So thank you for joining us tonight. We're now officially handing over the baton to our session next month, which is all about that big decision between university or an apprenticeship. We'll make sure we hold back all the mince pies until the team do a great job delivering that session. We started Careers Live back in July. And it's amazing to remember all those stories and insights that we've covered, just in half a year.
Yeah, and the good news is we're already lining up more guests and more careers for you to explore in 2023. So like I say, do have a look at our YouTube channel and look at our past streams, and let us know if there's anything that you're interested in that we haven't explained to you. But we're at 7:32 now, so it's time for us both to say goodbye. From all of us here at Lloyds Banking Group, we wish you the very best, and with you for every success wherever your career takes you. So see you next month for another Careers Live.
What does success mean to us?
Success is making a difference
for our customers and our communities.
Success is empowering people from the start,
building their confidence,
giving them tools to start their careers.
Success is putting our people first.
It's knowing when to listen
and making the time to talk.
Success is supporting causes we care about.
It's getting involved.
All hands on deck.
Success is making banking better.
It's engineering a fairer future.
Making progress and leaving no one behind.
Whatever shape it takes.
Success starts with us.